Well, the fiscal cliff, that's probably your biggest concern for silver and gold and what's going to happen in the markets. I think it may affect silver and gold, especially silver, but it's going to be a very temporary thing. Where I think it's really going to affect is the general equities markets like the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, and the markets actually maybe throughout the world, because it looks like we're deliberately going over it. It may be in Obama's best interest and the Democrats' best interest to go over it too. Even though they're the ones in the driver's seat, because the fiscal cliff is actually mandating a lot of expirations of tax breaks for the wealthy, and it's also mandating cuts in the military. So then once those cuts happen, then you can move forward and do social programs or whatever, or maybe your other agendas. And then at the same time, you can blame it on the Republicans. So I'm not getting political here, but just remember that may be how it can work out. That's a pretty shrewd maneuver. Got to think like a cunning fox and like an entrepreneur, like these two women are who are selling like little beach shoes by the beach. Goes to show you the economy's always open for new types of ventures and new types of ways to make a few dollars on the side, which is selling little shoes. Now, if you had a store and you had to pay, rent, overhead, electricity, insurance, and stand there, here you can go out and find your customers, as long as it's not raining out, but could be an interesting way to sell. The other thing is with Obama, he's also pointing out that there's no communication going on between the Republicans and the Democrats. Actually, I think there's actually a lot of communication, because the Republicans are basically flip-flopping on a lot of stuff. They're actually they want taxes to go up on the wealthy, or they also brought about a plan that was actually put out by one of Clinton's people years ago, that you're going to use that for the model for the plan for the fiscal cliff. But quite obviously, they're not going to resolve everything by January 1st at this late stage in the game, so you know what's going on. There's communication going on between Republicans and Democrats, but it looks like, I'd say we're actually going over it deliberately. And, well, I don't like Obama because I think he's too anti-American, to tell you the truth. I know people who voted for him might disagree with that, but and I do think the military is overbloated, but I think the people that Obama works for are trying to put America as far down possible on the echelon of countries in the world. So gutting our military too far is going to be part of the fiscal cliff. And also letting those tax increases come about by things that are expiring, which are tax breaks that expired. So when that tax is capital, I know the wealthy don't like. There's no such thing as a trickle down theory for the wealthy. Those are the cheapest bastards in the world. But when you tax capital, the wealthy tend not to invest. They just stay put, and they don't do a damn thing. So. This fiscal cliff is going to be very interesting. On the metals, temporarily could drive them down even a little further, especially silver. But gold, I'm not too sure about. Now, where I think things are going to reverse and take a very, very different stance, where gold is going to look extremely strong, silver is going to look extremely strong, is when basically Fitch has already warned about this fiscal cliff. Moody's has warned about it earlier, like almost a year ago. And S&P is probably going to do something too. Again, they start downgrading the debt, which I think is absolutely in the cards. It's not a guess. It's not one of those Lindsey Williams predictions, where I think the Illuminati are going to do this and the elite told me this. This is a hardcore fact. It didn't come up yet, but I'll state it like a fact. They will downgrade the debt, and that's going to be extremely bad for the dollar and extremely bullish for gold especially. But also that'll bring up silver. So they're going to trim the economy, trim the government too at the same time, because when they trim the government, I know the government doesn't necessarily feed the economy. It does a little bit in some ways, initially anyway. But when they're also causing heavier taxation on business, and they're being burdened with the national health care, which the businesses will have to pay for. You know what's going to happen then? That's going to really kill the economy. So the fitness of the government might get a little bit better, but somehow I even doubt that. But the economy is going to get worse. So that's something that Mark Farber alluded to. Why will equities really go down? Not because of the fiscal cliff itself, not because of problems in Europe, but because of poor earnings. And actually the fiscal cliff, in a way, is going to cause poor earnings because a lot of these tax breaks are going to expire, and that's going to cut down on investment. So it's going to be interesting, and it's coming up pretty soon, in about 9 days. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, the economy is going to stink so bad, but, you know, maybe this is a fun job right here. Just get on a couple bicycles, low capital investment, buy some you know, scuffy flip-flop shoes and go around to the beach with some baskets and sell them. You could probably make a good 50% margin up on them depending where you bought them. So, and you find your customers, and if you find your customers, and if you look pretty as these young ladies, I'm sure you're going to sell a lot of shoes. So it's a cool business anyway. But anyway, as far as like what's going on the markets today, everything's holding pretty steady. I know the Dow went a little down a little bit, but you know they get really emotional when the Dow goes down. Let's see it go down like 500 points or something, or 1,000 points, and let's see silver rocket up like $10 an ounce. I mean, that would be something I would be more in tune with. But that may be the case. But you know where that scenario is probably going to come about? It's probably going to come about when we have the war with Iran. Watch the stocks tumble then. Actually, if you look back in World War II, I should pull up some of these headlines just because I read extensively. I don't just, you know, sometimes I get on here, I comment kind of off cuff, but I read extensively. Actually, if you look at some of the old headlines, I was looking back at World War II with wheat. Boy, you should see what happened when they had war break out in Europe. It went down. It went down initially, even though there was a major drought on it stuff and there was a shortage. The markets tumbled, including stuff like wheat. Then what happened? It shot through the roof. So, you know, if we see a war break out in Iran, we might see the metals tumble that day. But they're going to be big, big winners. And actually, if you got fiat cash at that time to buy, and you see the metals tumble due to like a war breakout in Iran, that would be a time to buy, and you would get some seriously quick gains on it. So, just that is like that's ironclad word of advice, actually. But I don't know if and when that situation is going to come up. But these are the type of things I'm patiently waiting for, too. As of right now, I'm holding mainly in physical metals, like probably the most of my listeners. And I am not selling a damn thing anywhere near this price. I mean, silver has to be over $50 an ounce. Long range, I think in 2014, silver's going to hit the triple digits. That's where it's going to be in triple digits, 2014. If you look back, we had about a 3-year pattern from 2008. $22 silver went up to about 47 to 48 in early 2011. 3 years later, I'm going to say 2014. 3 years later, just like regular wave patterns. So, just want to put that out as a side note on the end here, because, but in between that time, we might see a run up of silver up to about $70 or so, and then a correction before it starts going up to 100. So, this is exactly how I'm playing it, and what I say is what I'm going to do. So that's the big difference. I'm not just pumping silver.